right, good morning. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. This is S.K.I.N. Good to have each and every one of you here with us, wherever you're dialing in from, whatever city, state, country, whatever part of the world. We want to welcome you into this community. Every single morning we come on here about 9:30 a.m. to give you a half-hour dose of information that will impact you, empower you, inspire you. It will give you the tools that you need to take your life and your relationship to the next level. So whether you're dating, in a committed courtship, engaged, or married, we deal with crisis, we deal with affair recovery, we deal with how to turn a hard, difficult situation into something that will work for you. All right, we've been in a series for the last 2 weeks on intimacy, specifically how to restore and rebuild intimacy after an affair. Today is our final show in that series. We're talking about sex, how to rebuild sexual intimacy. We've gone from spiritual intimacy into intellectual intimacy, spent some time in emotional intimacy, then touched on physical intimacy. But I want to just draw a distinction. Yes, sex it's a part of the physical expression, but we were dealing more with non-sexual touch and the importance of creating an environment where you touch consistently so that it can open up an atmosphere where sex is welcomed and it is mutually pleasing and fulfilling. So when we're talking about sexual intimacy, we're talking about, in essence, sexual fulfillment. Now, interestingly enough, this is one of the areas that many couples struggle with. And so we struggle with it for a variety of different reasons. And so, I'm working on a book, folks. I'm working on a book. It's soon to come out. I'm putting the finishing touches on it. And the name of the book is called S.K.I.N. Pleasure. And each letter in the word skin pleasure represents a different erotic pathway, if you will. And so when you take all of these letters, and put them together, there's 12 letters. So there are 12 erotic pathways, if you will, to increase your sexual intelligence, to enhance the sexual experience. Now, let me just say, when we're talking about the sexual needs of men and women, they are different. Okay? Yes, everyone wants pleasurable, mutually enjoying and satisfying sex, of course. However, there was a book written some time ago that talked about how men's sexual needs are more physical. Many of women's sexual needs is emotional. And so understanding the wiring of your spouse and what turns them on and what makes them tick and what increases their drive and their desire and their willingness to engage. Once you have that level of awareness, you will have a key that unlocks, the door to sexual fulfillment that is mutually experienced in a marriage. And so we want to walk through that today and give you some insight. But before we do, just a few quick announcements. As mentioned on every show, our last chance weekends are coming up. One this weekend starting tomorrow, the 7th through the 9th. Then next month, the second weekend of July, the 12th through the 14th, and then August, the 9th through the 11th. So make sure you reach out, you register. People are starting to call in. They are filling up. And so looking forward to this summer. It's going to be an amazing one. All right, let's get into today's topic. We're talking about skin pleasure. It is an acronym. Each letter represents something. So let's go into it. Number one, the S in skin stands for seduction. Okay? Now, typically speaking, when you started your relationship with your partner, before you got married, when you were in that dating phase, there was a tendency that you both had to want to woo each other, right? You seduced each other. You were very seductive. You were very appealing, right? And it came naturally. It wasn't forced. It's a natural thing. Typically, physical attraction, emotional desirability are the things that initiate a relationship. And in that phase, that's when you're putting your best foot forward. That's when you're showing up as your best self. That's when you're loving, and that's when you're kind, and that's when you engage in this back and forth banter, and you're flirtatious, and you tease, and you offer up, things that are pleasing to your partner. We talk about how within us there's two personalities. There's the giver and the taker. And the giver typically comes out at the beginning of the relationship, and the giver says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make you happy, even if it makes me unhappy, but I'm going to do so because I love you or because I desire you. And so it's a season when you're looking good, you're smelling good, you're batting your eyes, you're doing all types of things to catch the attention of your spouse or your partner at the time, right? You're dating at the time. It's earlier on in the relationship and it becomes natural. However, over the course of time, particularly when you enter into a commitment, seduction leaves. It takes a back seat, right? We don't do it. Now it's very okay, can we have sex tonight? It's so technical. It's so there's no passion, there's no intensity, there's no seduction, there's no allure, there's no anything. There's a staleness, if you will. And so what I'm saying is, as a married couple, you need to get back into learning the art of seduction. It's one thing to Google an article, how to seduce a man and how to seduce a woman. But when you look at how to seduce a husband or a wife, it's just apparently different. And what I'm saying is, the relationship should not change just because you said I do. So whatever you did to initiate the relationship is what you need to do to maintain it, okay? So the art of seduction is an important ingredient in mutual sexual fulfillment within a relationship. Let's go to the second one, kissing. It's really interesting. When people are dating, man, you see them kissing all the time. You're in public, they're kissing, they're all over each other. You're like, get a room, right? Interestingly enough, a lot of couples, they don't kiss. It's not what they do. Either I don't like the way you kiss, you're too this, you're too that. It's just not, I don't like it. Or there's some type of aversion to kissing. Kissing represents closeness. Kissing represents intimacy. And when a couple's not in a good place, they don't kiss because it represents affection. Now, if I have a sexual need that I need fulfilled, we can have sex. But kissing, kissing, that's a whole nother thing. And so it's problematic when couples don't kiss. The only time they do kiss is when they're trying to be stimulated. And if they do kiss outside of the bedroom, it may be like a greeting peck. Hey, babe, good morning. Good night, or something like that. But there's no intimacy in kissing. And so there's an art to kissing. There are different types of kisses. And I would encourage you, in the book, we're going to talk about how to explore the vast world of kissing, because that represents a form of touch, right? Yes, it can be non-sexual, right? But it can also be sensual and sexual as well. And kissing is a part of foreplay. It is something that should be incorporated into the relationship when you're inside the bedroom and outside the bedroom. So I'm just interested, how many of you watching right now struggle with kissing? Just be honest. And if so, tell me why. It's a very interesting concept how, what couples are allowed to do, what they have permission to do. They just don't take advantage of it, and they just don't do. So kissing is the K in skin, the first word. Let's go to the I. The I represents intimacy. Now, we've been doing an entire series on this. No need to go into it. You now know what it means. It represents a level of closeness. It represents an openness, a vulnerability, the ability to share heart, mind, and soul, and to come together and to really engage in a sense of oneness. I remember hearing someone once say that sexuality without intimacy feels like rape. And oftentimes that's how partners feel. They feel like it is a task, it is an obligation, it is very prostitute John transactional. There's no emotion, there's no connection. It is a dry, empty experience. And once the deed is done, you roll over, you go your separate ways. You don't talk, you don't connect. There's no pillow talk before or after. It's just a transaction. And so intimacy changes that entire thing around, because when you have intimacy in your relationship, you go from just having sex to now making love. You're bringing your heart, your mind, your soul, every essence of your being into that experience. And it becomes pleasurable, not just physically, but you feel emotionally connected, you feel safe, you feel secure, there's a bond, there's a oneness. I'm telling you, intimacy is the most important emotional need of all. And when you have it, it heightens the sexual experience and makes it mutually satisfying. Let's go to the N in skin. New. Now, you heard me say this before, that many people who wind up entering into an affair within their marriage oftentimes are looking for something new and different, and they wind up being with someone new and different. And so we encourage the importance of incorporating new. If you've been having sex the same way for the last 10, 15, 20 years, it becomes very predictable. It becomes very monotonous. It's like, bread and water, right? It's just like oatmeal without all the flavors and seasonings. Like when I go and have oatmeal, like particularly if I'm staying at a hotel, like I love going to the Residence Inn and going to their oatmeal bar because there's brown sugar there, there's cinnamon, they have walnuts and pecans, they have cranberries, right? They have the butter and the salt, a little bit of syrup in there. Don't judge me, So I put all of these toppings, all of these fixtures on top of the oatmeal, and I mix it all in with a spoon, and when you eat it, it's just like heaven in your mouth, right? But imagine a bowl of lumpy, dry oatmeal. There's no salt, there's no butter, there's no nothing. It's just dry and clumpy. It's not. That's what sex is oftentimes. In a marriage where everything is exactly the same, I know what's going to happen before we do it. I know the routine, I know the process. It's just, you need to break it up. As they say, variety is the spice of life, and bringing new things into the bedroom, new positions, new locations, new outfits, new role play. Like there's so many things that you can do. And so I had a private marriage intensive with a couple, and I went through this whole process, and they were so intrigued and excited about new. They made a decision that for the next 60 days, every time they come into the bedroom together to engage in sexual fulfillment, they will intentionally do something new. It cannot be the same thing, the same way. No, it's got to be new. And so see, that's what being an explorer is. It is exploring the possibilities of what you can do sexually that breaks away from the normal routine. And there's a level of excitement, there's a level of thrill that's attached to that experience. So I highly, 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 highly recommend doing something new that will enhance things. Okay, guys, we just hit the first word. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back right after this. All right, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about how to rebuild sexual intimacy, and more specifically, there's this concept that I created called skin pleasure. I didn't create what I'm talking about, but putting it together in this process. Skin pleasure is going to be a book coming to a store or a place near you. Okay, let's get into the second word. So the first word was skin. Okay, once again, we talked about seduction and kissing and intimacy and the whole concept of new. But the second word is pleasure. So the P in pleasure represents petting. Okay, so when we say petting, we're talking about foreplay, the ability of learning how to touch. Now, we talk oftentimes about non-sexual touch, but there's a way that you can touch your spouse in a sexual way that creates desire. Okay, and there's an art to it. And I think, unfortunately, many of us haven't learned how to really know what pleases our spouse. You know, if we have sexual experience, we take what we've done that has worked in the past and try to incorporate it into our marriage, and it may not translate. What worked with someone else may not work for the person that you are with. And so that becomes a part of the frustration because you don't know how to please me. You don't know how to touch me. The foreplay is horrible, or there's not enough foreplay, or all you want to do is get straight to it. And you have to understand that men are microwaves and women are crock pots. And so what it takes a man to be ready to go isn't synonymous with what it takes a woman. Typically, women take a lot longer. They require a lot more. And your level of patience and your expertise and competency in this space will make it mutually beneficial and pleasing. If you're the only one as the man benefiting and your wife is not, then there's some areas that you need to develop. And one of them is in the area of petting or foreplay. Now, let me just say that this is a mutual exchange. This can't be a one-way transactional experience where a man is simply trying to stimulate a woman to prepare her and she's just receiving it and not giving anything back in return. Or it can't be where a woman is pleasing a man in terms of foreplay, but because he has no value in it and it doesn't make a deal for him, he does not reciprocate and give her what she needs. There's got to be a mutual exchange which leads to a mutual benefit. So I think it's critically important to really, when we talk about become a student of your spouse, learn your spouse sexually. Learn what parts of the body they like. Learn what to touch. Learn how they want to be touched. Sometimes you could be too rough. Sometimes you could be too quick. Sometimes you could be, there's all types of challenges and complications. And guess what? We're stimulated in different ways on different days. So maybe when you rub my ear today, there's a high sensitivity to it, but tomorrow I don't feel anything. Okay, is it because you're doing something wrong? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe it's because it's just not hitting me this way today. So try this ear or try that shoulder or try, so you have to be fluid and flexible. You have to be like water, right? And so ultimately, this is why you want to explore your spouse's body like a sexual roadmap. Because as you take the time to do that, see, sexual fulfillment is taking your time and going on a sexual exploration to learn every crevice of your spouse's physical being so that you should already know and have insight. Oh, I know if I touch him here or touch her there, it works. And so this is why foreplay is so critically important. Now, foreplay simply means it comes before your actual physical play of intercourse, but foreplay also means it should last 4 times as long as the intercourse. Did you hear it? So it comes before intercourse, and it should last longer. Well, when I say longer, what I mean is it should last long enough. Sometimes we're too quick. We want to dive in too quick, and it takes time. Think about this. In the wintertime, I'm from New Jersey. I don't know where you are from around the world. But if you have cold winters and you want to jump in that car and go, it has always been advised, turn the car on, let it warm up. So you're letting it to run, right? Because it's been cold. It's been, in cold weather all night, right? And maybe you need to give it like 5, 6, 7 minutes so the engine can get going. It warms up so that the drive is smooth. If you just turn a car on and leave, you can be causing potential damage to the vehicle. And so likewise, when it comes to a wife, a woman specifically, generally speaking, it takes time. So foreplay is giving enough time to warm up her engine, because if you attempt to go in too quickly, it can lead to other problems and complications, right? And so, listen, this is why petting is critically important. So becoming a student of your spouse and having conversations about what your spouse likes and doesn't like, what turns them on, what turns them off, is critically important, okay? Sex is one of those things we love to talk about. We love to do, but we don't like to talk about. And so I need you to get past the weirdness and the awkwardness and engage in the conversation. Let's go to the next. The next is what we call lover's paradise. What we're talking about is the bedroom, or the environment where you make love. It should be a place that is conducive for lovemaking. It should be a place that is romantic. When you think about going to a nice hotel, when you think about going to a resort, one thing that makes it so tantalizing is that it is beautiful. It is meticulous. Everything is put in an environment that speaks to romance, and you look forward to lovemaking. You look forward to getting into that bed. Everything is all manicured and taken care of. But when you do a comparative analysis, when you juxtapose those environments to your bedroom, Would we be embarrassed by what we see? Now, some of you keep a beautiful home and it's meticulous and great, but some of you, problem, right? So if you have dishes in the bedroom, toys, mail, newspapers, clothes all over the floor, things out of place, you work in your bedroom, you eat in your bedroom, you entertain in your bed, you do all types of things. It's a multi-purpose room. It becomes problematic because if you don't have a systematic approach to always, resetting the room and making it conducive for lovemaking, then it could be very unappealing and unattractive, and the environment now becomes off-putting. Now, some people who are stimulated by what they see, visual stimulation, when they go into this environment, it negatively impacts their libido, their desire shrinks. It may not be you, but it's just this environment. This is why people often say, well, why don't we go to a hotel? Why don't we do a weekend getaway? Why? Because they're looking for something that's different than what they have. But for those who maintain their bedroom, when they go into other locations, they're less impressed because they're like, well, we got this at home. We take care of our bedroom. It is conducive for what we want, and it's enjoyable. So I'm telling you, turn your bedroom into a lover's paradise. Some of the things that you can focus on is the temperature, number one. Making sure that the temperature is right so that it's a healthy environment for us to be free. The lighting is critically important. If you have hospital lights on, right? Or if it's too bright, it's a problem. Dim lights, right? Maybe you want to change the bulbs. Maybe you get a dimmer and dim those lights. Candles or a fireplace, very romantic, right? Making sure that you have the right bedding. The bedding in itself can have a romantic feel and touch. The scents and the aromas that you have going on in that room will heighten the sexual experience, right? There's a number of things that you can do. Having refreshments or having drinks already prepared and laid out. Just making sure that everything is done. And the bathroom is connected to the bedroom. And so sometimes the sexual experience transitions from the bedroom to the bathroom for whatever reason. So making sure that master suite in that environment is conducive and attractive to the eye so that you have an environment that allows you to experience that level of fulfillment. All right, let's keep going. Then we have the E in pleasure, okay, P.L.E., erogenous zones. Now, this is where it is critically important to learn your body and to learn your spouse's body. It seems like for many people, the first thing that they do or the only thing that they're aware of are the sexual genitals, penis, vagina, breasts, behind, and those are the key areas that you go. But there are so many other places that create so much stimulation to by the touch, if you would learn it. And so there are anywhere between 11 to 12 erogenous zones that people have identified on their body, and touching those particular areas heightens a sensitivity and increases desire in order for the sexual experience to be pleasurable. So learning what those areas are on your spouse are critically important, and taking the time during your petting session or foreplay session to tap into those spaces will do the trick. And so for some, it's the forehead. For others, it's the neck. For others, it may be their knees or behind their knees, right? Sometimes it's the back, the stomach. There's so many other areas that you can begin to explore. And when you have those conversations with your spouse, engage in them. Be playful with it. Take your time. Have a session where you engage in sensuality, not sexuality. So sometimes it's okay to not engage in penetration, but the purpose of this is stimulation, okay? Stimulation. So for couples who are trying to get into a rhythm and a flow and don't have sex consistently, we talk about the importance of maybe one of your first initial steps is to have a sexual day once a week and a sensual day once a week. The sensual day doesn't require penetration. The sensual day is all about petting, foreplay. It's all about tapping into those erogenous zones, okay? So hopefully that helps. Let's go to the next one. Stroking. Oh yeah. Now, when we say stroking, what we're referring to is verbal stroking, right? The art of, this is also a part of the seduction, right? But the art of communicating in the bedroom. Now, some people will call it dirty talk, and I don't believe that it has to be dirty or disrespectful or kinky, but when you begin to, like if you're engaging in sexual experiences with your spouse and you add the art of talk, you know what to say, and how to say it. You know how to tease. It's very pleasurable, and it heightens the sexual experience and can lead to orgasm. So learning what your spouse wants to hear, learning how to compliment them, learning how to explain what it is that is happening, learning how to talk and navigate through what would you like having a conversation, right? Having a conversation. Some people are playful in their conversation, and that's good, because playfulness tapped into your sexuality is an amazing thing. Some people may come across aggressive, and that works for certain personalities. Others are soft and gentle. That works for other personalities. But incorporating the power of talk and touch together, man, it becomes a perfect cocktail for sexual fulfillment. All right, let's go to the next one. Undergarments. We talk about in the corporate world how it's critically important to dress for success. But in the bedroom, it's important to learn how to dress for success. Okay? How are you showing up in the bedroom? Now, of course, at some point, all clothes come off, but you can tease and tantalize and entice your spouse through your appearance. Now, we typically know women are the ones who lead in this particular area, and there's a variety of things that they can wear. There's places like Victoria's Secrets and so on and so forth, where you can get all types of things that are really sexy and just, oh God, let me focus on the show. Okay, but then when it comes to men, there's not much of a focus on how they show up, but there's things that you can do. You know, silk robes, boxers, briefs, there's things that you can do as well. And so having a conversation with each other and asking, maybe not every night, but every now and then, you know, hey, what would you like me to wear? Or how about this? How about you go shopping together, go to a store together, go online together, and look through different types of undergarments and pick what would be mutually pleasing to you as a couple, purchase it, get it in the mail, put it on, and that's how you're bringing new. If you're wearing the same do-rag, the same shirt, the same boxers, like if everything's the same, it's predictable. Like my eyes begin to adjust, and it no longer excites and entices me the way it once did. So incorporating those things are critically important. Let's go to the next. Romance. This is different than seduction. It's somewhat different, but it's similar. Like they're cousins, but listen, whatever happened to the romance? Like you used to serenade me, you used to buy me cards, you used to give me gifts. I remember those times where you cooked a dinner for me. I remember those times that we would turn down the lights and just listen to soft music and connect over a glass of wine or whatever the case may be. It was romantic. That has gone away, it slipped away. And maybe because of challenges and disappointments and not being in a good place, we didn't feel comfortable engaging in that because we didn't know how our spouse was going to receive it. But I'm telling you, your spouse is probably longing for romance to be brought back into the relationship, which will heighten their desire to even want to engage with you. So having a conversation about what romance looks like and being more intentional to bring romance into the relationship will enhance your sexual experience. And then last but not least, we have the E in pleasure, and it represents the erotic blueprint, okay? Now, the erotic blueprint is a session all within itself, but it talks about how there are different styles, if you will, of sex. So just like you have 5 love languages, different ways to express love, just like we talk about the Enneagram, there are different personalities that you should be aware of. There are also different sexual styles or erotic blueprints. And a lot of times couples think that they're just incompatible, that, you know, we're into different things. It just doesn't work. It may be because you're not aware that there is a difference in your style. And guess what? The difference doesn't mean bad. The difference is just identifying what is. Does that make sense? Once we identify what this is, like, why do you have a tendency to always do that? And why do you have a preference for that? Oh, it's a style? I wasn't aware of this style. And so these styles are there's 5 of them, right? So you have the energetic, which we're not going to go into. You have the sensual. You have the sexual. You have the kinky, and you have the shapeshifter. All of them have a different style, a different desire, a different approach to sexuality. So if I now can identify what mine is, now I'm empowered because, okay, at least I'm not crazy, at least I'm not weird, I'm not awkward, okay, at least I fit into a type. This is starting to make sense. But now that I know what your type is, now I know why there's a disconnect here. And so one thing that's powerful about taking this test and knowing your type, you get to learn how different types come together and can have a level of compatibility. So even though you're this and I'm that, when we come together, if we do this and we do that, it can work and flow. And so this is why we say this is the science to things. What you do with it is the art thereof. And so understanding your erotic blueprint contributes to the overall erotic intelligence that you'll need to heighten that sexual experience. So today was really a focus on what you do inside the bedroom to make sure that there's mutual satisfaction in your sexual experience, okay? I hope that this series was helpful. I tried to give you enough to eat on, to chew on, to digest, and begin to work through. I have robbed you of any and every excuse possible not to restore the intimacy that has been lost as a result of the betrayal. So if you've watched this series and you still feel like, you know what, we need help, this is great information, but we cannot do it on our own, listen, just reach out to us. We have an amazing team of practitioners that can serve you with a spirit of excellence and empower you and guide and facilitate conversations that will allow you to experience a level of breakthrough in your life and in your marriage. So guys, thank you for the series. Tomorrow's Q&A. We start a brand new series on Monday that I'm really excited about. I thought I put it in here, but I didn't. But the series is going to be on why we cheat. Why we cheat. And we're going to take our time and give you something comprehensive because many people struggle with the why, understanding the why. They haven't accepted the why. And so we're going to dive deep into that. But thank you. Love you. Hope you have a great day. Watch the video with your spouse. Watch the video with your spouse, have conversations, and take your relationship to the next level. Love you.